Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reborn Podcast, where faith meets real estate, and we talk about the strategies, people, and heart behind everything we do. Today, I am joined by someone who plays a huge role in how we serve our clients, our team's listing agent, Gabriel Gilbert. Now, if you know me, you know my world is mostly on the investment side, wholesales, flips, managing the business. I don't personally work retail transactions other than passing leads and managing the team, but Gabriel is a guy who takes those retail opportunities and knocks them out of the park. We wanted to have this conversation because the dynamic between an investor and an agent isn't talked about enough. And yet when it's done right, it's one of the most powerful ways to serve clients. Together, we're able to give sellers more options and make sure they are getting the solution that truly fits their needs, not just the only option we have. So today, we're pulling back the curtain on how our partnership works, what we've learned from one another, and why this model might just change the way you think about selling real estate. Gabriel, thanks for being here. Let's dive in.
Happy to be here.
Tony, how are you? Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. So, from your perspective, Gabe, working with an investor-led brokerage, working with a traditional brokerage, what differences have you seen? What have been the pros, the cons? What's been your experience?
I would say it's really a lot different. And truthfully, I always worked with just traditional clients, and I never thought I would be working with investors. To be honest with you, I was just like, investors, it's a lot more different than like the retail side. And, even working with Tony, I notice a lot of the people I work with really aren't investors because I really focus on listings. And, with our business model, which I'm sure I'll get into more, we're more or less focusing on best serving a seller, whether that be, selling, on the investment side, or if that may be, working with them as a traditional listing and getting them sold to just a traditional buyer. So I'm really still doing what I like to do, working the retail side. I'm just partnering with an investor to best serve the people he works with.
Sweet. And now you mentioned the difference between a lead comes in. Sometimes we as Reborn Homes, we might come in, we might purchase that property. Other times it might be one where we go and we list that property and you would handle the listing. How do we as a company, from your perspective, how do we differentiate whether that lead is going to be retail, whether it's going to be an investor property that we're going to buy? What's that process look like just to figure out what it's better suited for, how we can best serve our clients?
Well, I think it all really depends on the condition of the property and what the client's goals are. There's some people that need to move now, and it sucks for them that they might have to, obviously if you get a cash offer, it's going to be lower than, selling your home on the MLS. But for some people, they have a situation they need to get out of, and that might best benefit them. There's also people, we might meet that have a really nice, beautiful house, and it's like, we would hate to do them a disservice by giving them a cash offer when we could go get them top dollar in the market. And if that's the case, then we're going to list it, get them top dollar, and get into my marketing strategies, which I think we'll touch on later, and, whatever can best serve them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've had a lot in our marketing, properties that are from built in 2018, 2020, 2023. I think we've seen 2024 in there. And, those new properties are in great condition. A lot of these sellers, some of them do need to sell. They're about to lose their house in a sheriff's sale. They're going through a divorce. They just want to be out of that house, or they need to be out of that house. More commonly is they need to be. They don't want to sell. If they want to sell and their house is in good condition, usually that's going to be a listing. Whereas if they need to sell, that's where they come to me. They have a set timeline that if they don't sell, they're going to lose their house or some other bad repercussion. We've had some sellers that are going through a big life transition, and some whose lives are literally in danger if they do not sell their home. So usually those are going to be, sent to the investor versus, again, you're working with mostly leads that want to sell.
Completely agree. And, that was the cool part about working with Tony because, I met a couple people that really needed to sell right now. They're about to go into foreclosure, whatever it may be. And it's like, I can list your house, but, that is somewhat of a lengthy process compared to like an instant cash offer. And, it put me in a bind because I didn't have those resources. And then on Tony's end, he does the cash offer, but what if a home is, like he said, in really good shape, and now it's like, hey, what are we going to do? Because I want to get you the most money, but I don't have an agent to do that. So I think the partnership has been mutually beneficial for the clients just by having every resource to be able to serve them for whatever their situation may be.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who are watching this or listening to this and are either thinking about selling your house or you know somebody who is looking to sell their house, I want to go into the process, specifically what can be expected. And so usually most people come to us, they fill out a form on our website. That lead comes to us and we give them a call. We figure out, hey, what's going on? How can we best serve you? A lot of time, these sellers also in this market don't have any equity. And so if they don't have any equity, usually it's going to be hard for me as an investor to buy that property. And so that's where automatically we're going to go and list that property. But oftentimes, again, it has to do with the situation. But first, we assess the property condition. Is the property in great condition? Can it even be, can it get a loan? Is it financeable? What does the seller need? How can we best serve the seller? Are they going through, sheriff's sale, or are they just looking to move and they're looking to retire? And, they've been working for 40 years. They want to go get that extra 40 grand instead of, and maybe wait 3 months to get that money instead of selling within 21 days or 2 weeks or whatever it might be and getting a lot less money. Time frames, again, how long do they have before they need to sell that property? Are they moving? Are they retiring? Are they downsizing? Are they upsizing? Or is their life in danger?
You're completely right. It's really, the biggest thing ultimately is timing. I tell people, you can either pay for the convenience and the timing and make a little bit less, or if you have the time to wait it out, you can get the most money. And I feel like that's just kind of how it is with anything in life, But especially with this, but luckily, they have the choice. And, having that choice is huge because not a lot of people have that choice. It's A or B company, they can do this, you can do this, right? Mm-hmm. And we kind of have like a, one-stop shop for everything. Just really whatever's best for the client. So,
it's a consultative approach. It's a servanthood approach to where we are not looking. I would love to buy every single property that comes to us, because that's ultimately where, as a company, we make the most profit, to be very clear. But ultimately, when you put that aside and when you look at how can I serve this human being, this brother, this sister in Christ, it's a whole nother ball game. And so,
it's really cool.
It's exciting.
I'll tell you that. I'll be on a listing appointment and people ask me like, so what was the cash offer? Like, why couldn't we do a cash offer? And they'll be like confused. I'm like, look, we're not in the business of like lowballing people for every dollar they can have. We're trying to serve you. So we thought the best fit for you, for your situation, was a listing. That's why I'm here. I would have loved to have done the cash offer. It's easier, but whatever's best for you is what we want. And, the people are overly ecstatic to hear that, we actually are looking out for their best interest. And
yeah. And from your perspective, obviously we've talked about the idea of having both options and how that empowers us and enables us to best serve our clients and best serve anyone that we come in contact with, as well as making a better return for our company. With that said, how does our collaboration, investor, agent, give clients an advantage over working with only an agent who only knows that side of the business, or only an investor?
Because I've been the agent that only knows the agent side of the business in the past. And I can tell you, like, firsthand from my experience, I've had multiple people in the past that reached out to me, hey, I need investment property. I'm like, okay, let's try to find something. We look on the MLS, you're not going to see much. I remember I even, 2 years ago, I had an investor looking for something, and I reached out to you, and that gave me some more clarity. But, still at the end of the day, the best deals are found by the investor-focused brokerages. That's where you're going to make the most money if you are an investor. And being able to serve both ends of that's really beneficial for me because, I wanted to help investors. I want to help everyone I can help, but, I only have so many resources, and if I'm not with an investor-focused brokerage, I can't help you as best, truthfully, as, the investor-focused one. So being able to combine them all really gives everyone a one-stop shop, whether it be a seller in distress, a seller with the nicest home in the neighborhood, the first-time home buyer, the investor who's looking to up their portfolio, we can really hit anything you need and get it taken care of for you.
Yeah. And I do also just want to be clear, we will buy the nicest house on the neighborhood. It is a matter of fact, though, that you will, walk away with less money. What you will get in return is, one, you're going to get speed. You can sell that property to us. Today is August 18th. We could close this month, right? You're going to get convenience. You're not going to have to do all the walkthroughs, not going to have to do all the showings, not going to have to wait on the buyer to get their financing, and then maybe it falls through because they can't qualify. They just got a car last second, so now they're not going to qualify for the loan. There's so many different things where when you're selling to an investor cash as is, you do no cleaning, you do no repairs, you do nothing other than wait on your check, other than wait on your wire, and we close on your timeline, and we can possibly in some cases help you move, and there's so many benefits, but you have to know that at the end of the day, you will ultimately walk away, if your house is in great condition, with more money. Selling with a realtor, it will take more time and it'll be less convenient, but you will get more money because you're selling directly to a family or to somebody who's going to live in that home themselves, who is getting a loan. And again, there can be troubles with that, but ultimately that's kind of what it looks like.
Completely agree. That's what I try to tell everyone when I'm on any appointment, just so they get a better understanding of what we're doing. And yeah.
And so, man, Gabe, I know we have already had some crazy stories. What share from your perspective, what are some client success stories that you've experienced, that you've been a part of, that you've witnessed from this model?
Okay, so my favorite one, I'm not going to say his name, but you know who I'm talking about. And so we got in. He was really close to, I don't think he was in pre-foreclosure, but he was like basically about to go to foreclosure. He had like a couple months left. And it ended up getting to the point where we ended up paying his gas bill when we were pending. But we show up, we get the home listed. We were going to go for the cash offer, but he had to be a listing. And that was going to be the best way to serve him because the home was in pretty good shape. We got it listed. The pricing was good. I think it sold in like 11 days or something like that, which, that's pretty good right now for the buyer's market we're in. But got him sold. He is off somewhere in Florida now. I haven't talked to him about a month. But he's doing well. Life's good. He's got some cash in his pocket versus had we not met him, and he might be in a very bad spot right now, or he could have been in foreclosure or whatever it may be. So like when we talk, he's mentioned it multiple times, but like serving people, that's like the definition of it. Like that's when you really feel like, wow, I actually really helped this person, because like we took someone whose life was about to go really in a bad spot to now he's on a month vacation in Florida or something like that. And it's like, you can't make that up. Everyone's happy. It was a win-win for everyone. And that's what really, kind of drives you every day to keep working, because you actually see the people that you're helping and you are making a difference.
Yeah. So just to recap, just to make sure I got that right, he was going to foreclosure. And when you're in foreclosure, a lot of people don't know this actually, you don't get any money, right? So like if you owe $100,000, let's say on your mortgage, and the house sells for $120,000, you are not necessarily entitled to that money.
Exactly. Yeah,
and
I should touch on that.
He walked away with, I believe, around $45,000. Is that correct?
Something like that. He walked with around $45,000, something like that, around the range. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, if you foreclose, you're not going to get any money. Your credit's going to get destroyed, so you're going to have to rent. You're going to be completely starting from zero, essentially, and you're going to be under like a foreclosure for probably 6 to 9 years. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it
so getting another house.
That's off the table for a long time. It's very hard to restart after a foreclosure.
Yeah.
It's just like a bankruptcy. So trying to avoid that, and that's why also having a couple different resources, whether it be a cash offer or, a listing. His spot would have been really close for a cash offer just on like the timeline, but luckily we were able to put in the good marketing plan and get him sold quick on the MLS because he had a nice home and the pricing was good for the area. But yeah, it was really close with him, but we got him out, and now he's I'd rather be in Florida than in Indiana right now. So he's probably in a better spot than me, honestly. But yeah.
So a month-long vacation in Florida, he has $40+ grand in his pocket, And this is all from a guy who could have walked away with his credit shot and with no money in his pocket. Another thing, again, I don't want to say his name out of respect, but I did actually, and I don't even know if you know this, but I actually connected him with a potential employer. Since he's a contractor, I connected him with one of our partners who's owns one of the biggest general contracting businesses here in Indy. So could potentially even line him up with new work with a company that I think he would really love working with. So that is the definition of being a servant. Because again, ultimately, if we had bought that house, we would have made more money off that house, but is that how we can best serve? Probably not.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to get the listing. Like, sure, yeah, the cash offer would have been great for us, but ultimately the home was in good enough shape. Why not get him a good chunk of change in his pocket instead? That was the best thing for him, and he's definitely very happy and ecstatic about the whole situation.
Right. You mentioned before how you were the realtor who only knew the realty side. We actually talked about 2 years ago before we were working together how you had reached out to me about a buyer who's looking for an investment property, and I kind of was able to give some clarity on that. And now, obviously, fast forward, we're working together day in and day out. What have you learned throughout this process of working side by side, hand in hand with an investor?
The biggest thing I've learned is really the best deals are made off market when it comes to investment properties, and that's ultimately what your focus is on. I remember when I was completely green in real estate, and I think one of my first things was find me an investment property. It's I'm sitting here looking on the MLS, but ultimately all the ones that are good are already bought, so I'm not seeing anything good. And I'm trying to run numbers on them. How can we even make this make them money? I just couldn't understand it. I'm so how do investors buy houses if there's nothing on here for them to buy? I didn't understand it completely. And keep in mind, this is years ago. This was completely when I was new. But I grew to know, especially after meeting with Tony, and I was okay, so he's got the good deals. I need to be with an investor-focused agent if I want to actually, best serve investors, or I should probably just for now refer them to someone that can actually handle them properly. Yeah. Because, ultimately, you want to do best by someone. So even if you're referring them, it sucks to get rid of a client, but obviously, they're going to be better helped with him versus me, right? And so once we actually partner together, then I actually learned so much more about the investment space, how they actually create deals, how they get numbers, stuff like that. So that's one, made me able to touch on it more. But two, I have a partner now that I can, if I have an investor reach out to me, I know I have someone that I can trust with 100% confidence to go handle them and make sure they get a good property. I'm going to send that to the expert in that. I'm in retail. I'm going to focus on that, what I'm good at, and helping my clients, my marketing. And I'm going to let the investor-focused person actually handle the investors, get them taken care of the best.
Yeah. And if you are an investor, especially in the Indy market, you can go to reborninvesting.com. That website will be where you can find all of our inventory. You can get in contact with our team, and ultimately we will help you build your wealth as an investor. And so that's a second part of this company that is awesome, is that we get the opportunity to not only serve sellers, we also get the opportunity to serve investors, whether they want to invest with us and we are buying the property and they want to loan money and they're going to make a return on that money rather than it sitting in a bank and they're losing money from appreciation, or they want to buy a property from us and go flip it or go rent it or whatever that might look like. And those properties are exclusive. They are off market. They are discounted off what you would pay for on the market. And so, that's another thing I'm super excited about, is looking around, looking left to right and seeing all these great people trying to figure out, how can I support my family? How can I build wealth in today's day and age? Especially, people are scared about the AI takeover, right? But real estate will never go away. And that opportunity to serve our investors, again, whether they're investing with us or buying from us, to help them and their families build wealth, has been very, very a big passion of mine.
Oh, 100%. You're knocking out of the park. But really, every millionaire in America, it's there's a crazy high percentage of every millionaire is a real estate investor. And it's just tried and true. It's going to appreciate. You can talk way more about this, but there's so many different options you can go on what may be a best fit for you as an investment based on your skill sets or whatever it may be. And I'm very thankful to be partnered with someone that can really actually help serve these clients and give them a roadmap to, generational wealth, whether it be, their grandkids or their great grandkids.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would just like to dive deeper a little bit into what I have personally learned about working with a realtor. I am licensed myself, and we have some big things in the works on that end of our company. Super excited about. But, my experience has been 99% in the investment space. We do at least a few listings a month. I've never had my name on Zillow where it's listed by Tony Boutros. You've never seen that, because it's never happened, and it never will happen, because I am on the back end building the processes, building the system, building the team, and so on and so forth. And but I've learned, one, between wholesalers and between agents, most of them don't like each other, because they feel like one is not serving their client and the other feels the same way about them, and so they just they bash heads, versus collaborating. They just turn it into a brutal, all-out competition. But ultimately, I've definitely learned more about pricing strategy. Gabe's taught me a few things with that regard. Staging on the market, retail buyer psychology. It's a big purchase, probably the biggest purchase of your life, and yet it's very, very emotional for many buyers. I know that's been true for a few buyers that we've worked with, and then also just MLS marketing, and how that contrasts with marketing a property that's off market. But ultimately, I would just say it's been an experience to learn real estate as a whole, because the MLS will never go away. Realty will never go away. Brokerage will never go away. And again, as we discussed, real estate investment is probably the safest investment you can make. So that's never going to go away either.
Completely agree. I mean, real estate investments are never going to go away. The population's growing, land's going to become more sparse. Everything's going up. Everything's always appreciating. Look at the last 100 years and look at, granted, I know 100-year homes, or some of them are barely standing still, but you look at property prices, just through inflation, it's really a good way to beat inflation. And especially if you have rentals or whatever it may be, get some cash flow in there as well, and you can stack up a portfolio to get some, monthly residual income. There's so many different options, but yes, on the retail side, completely different than what most people expect from like an investor side. The investors, they're looking at the numbers. Is this going to make me money? Yes or no? Okay, boom. If it makes them money, they typically don't care. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like that's their only focus. Versus on like the retail side, whether it be the first time home buyer and they've been saving up for 2 years to be able to buy this, or it might be someone's forever home that they're going to, grow a family in, whatever it may be. It's so emotional. I've had people cry at closing out of like excitement and just like overwhelming emotions from, it being the biggest purchase of their life. But that also goes into your marketing, because you think about it, if I'm like listing a house, all these people are going to be thinking just like my buyers are thinking. So, we need to think about it. Be like, hey, what are we going to think about this kitchen? What are they going to think about the master? Because ultimately those are going to be the two biggest selling points. Obviously the curb appeal is huge too, but the kitchen and the master, that's what these people are going to live in, and this is what they're investing, the lump sum of what they own. It's the biggest purchase they're ever going to make. It's a big thing for them. So definitely it's more emotional marketing and emotional sales than it would be on like the investor end, and that's what I think I like more about it.
Yeah. And now with your experience having first been on the retail side solely, and still that's what you're doing today, but now with a team, with a brokerage, how's that dynamic been? Has your business grown? Have you enjoyed working more? Have you had more doubt in systems, or has it all been chaos? And have you made less money? Have you not enjoyed working? Have you just talk to me about that experience specifically with joining the Reborn Homes team and what that's been like.
So income has grown tremendously, which is a huge thing. I'm very happy about that. The systems are just so dialed in. It's insane. I'm a very unorganized person, and I'm working on that every day, but ultimately I still am very unorganized. But having all these systems, I never realized how many leads probably before I worked here I probably just let slip through the cracks, and it like blows my mind. It makes me feel bad, but the past is the past. But like just how in depth our systems on, whether it may be for leads or whatever it may be, and not letting them slip through the cracks, and our processes for creating the best situation for a client. It is just I really didn't expect something to be so built out to serve the client. It's crazy. So that's been really beneficial. That makes my job a lot easier. The money's been a lot better. It's really cool because typically when I meet these people, especially because like some of them are in distress situations, I feel like I'm actually making a difference in someone's life, which is also pretty cool. So I would say, really, I was nervous about this going into it because I'm like, oh, well, I don't really want to work with investors, blah, 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 blah. And once I actually realized, I'm like, hey, I get to do what I like, but now I'm actually helping people that need help versus, still obviously, I love selling real estate. So like I'm going to help whoever I can. But especially getting to help people that are in kind of bad situations, I think that's what kind of like drives me to keep doing real estate. That's where like the passion comes from. So that's definitely been the biggest thing over the money for me, just actually going to sleep at night knowing I help someone. So
yeah. And for those agents who are currently on their own, maybe going through the market, as we know, it's a buyer market. It's a bit of a tough market right now. And for those investors who are kind of experiencing the same thing, what advice would you give to an agent who is not sure what the next best step might be for their career? They might even be thinking about dropping out of the industry. When they're looking possibly or open to the possibility of working with an investor side by side, what advice would you give to them? Well,
first off, working side by side with an investor would be a really mutually beneficial relationship. So I would recommend it to any agent. But also, you need to get on a team or you need to get a mentor. Because I remember, I've been very fortunate. I've had a really good mentor for a long time. But before, I even in times I didn't fully have that, it was tough because you're kind of like a wild goose chase, and part of it also, it's a really big numbers game. So you might be going and doing something that you think's right, but you don't have enough data to know whether you're doing it right or to adjust it. So you're kind of just like out in left field and you're like, is this working? Is this not working? What am I doing wrong? What could I be doing differently? Especially when you're young too. I mean, a lot of the people, I'm 22. So a lot of the people in my sphere, now they're starting to reach out more, but like everyone I knew was in college when I was getting in. So, the traditional, like a lot of the people would be like, oh, well, text all your friends. It's like, oh, I can text my friends, but they're down at IU or Purdue. They're not buying a house. So it definitely having a mentor, or even really, I recommend the strong team. If you can find a strong team to work for, you're going to, really learn from the best. You're going to be doing it firsthand. You're also going to be helping a top producer, which just seeing how they do business is so beneficial to you. That's what I got with my mentor, and it was very, very beneficial to me. From the team aspect, I can see why a lot of people don't want to be on a team, because ultimately I didn't want to be on a team. I wanted to work for myself, and I was finally just like, well, the market's a little slow for me still. Let me give this a shot, and I honestly would never go back. Having a team is so, so helpful. You have so many resources. I actually feel like on any aspect, like I've mentioned before already, I can help a client, which is really important to me. But also just on like the end of having all the built out systems, that's a very high price to pay if you're doing that by yourself. And having all that stuff built out to where I know that I'm best taking care of everyone, that's just the most important thing to me.
I know you are a big risk taker, because as you mentioned, when you joined, you did not really want to be on a team. And we've gone over in sales training. Would you take a job that you did not know the hours, what the pay would be, or what you would be doing on a day-to-day basis? And most people would say no to that. And you said yes to that. Specifically in this industry, especially in this market right now, as an agent who's possibly looking for that sort of opportunity, what things would you be looking for as either red flags or green flags, or even just, white flags, cautionary flags, when looking to join possibly a team or find a mentor?
It's really hard to tell because I feel like, I've interviewed at a lot of brokerages, and, you typically, when you interview somewhere, it's like you like competing to get the job. And like with real estate, it's the complete opposite, because they sit there and promise you the world. And you're just like, well, who's going to give me more leads? Because I'm going to get everything when I work here. I'm going to make a bunch of money my first year. That's what they tell you. So it's really, I feel like, I don't want to say it's dishonest, but it's it's a very different interview process than if you were to work for, like a financial firm or whatever it may be, where you're competing with a few hundred people just for one job. I would say, though, on green and red flags, green flags, I would say, having top producers in the office that are willing to help you. I think that's the most important thing. I have learned, and you couldn't find this in any book, but from my mentor, Ted, and Sheila, my first mentor, I've learned so many, I guess you could say, intangible things I never would have read online or anything like that. And, you wouldn't think about them, but they work. And, through learning from both of them, and especially Ted over these last couple years for, I don't even know how many different things he's taught me, but that really helped me. So finding a place where you can find a mentor, that would be a green flag, whether that just be a top producing team or the mentor. I literally just said that, but that is the biggest thing you can have. A good sales system and a good CRM. The CRM is going to be what makes or breaks your business. So for us, I essentially have two CRMs, because I have Tony's and I also have my eXp Realty one, which is through KV Core. And I don't know what I would do without them. They really help you, build your business and make sure leads don't slip through the cracks. So good CRM, I would say a good mentor or team above you. A great managing broker is always important as well, because they're going to hold you accountable and they're also going to make sure you're doing everything right. Good sales system, it's hard to tell how many leads you're going to get, because everyone promises leads. And that's one thing I never got through. It's how do I determine, if they're just promising me leads that I'm not going to get, or if there's actually going to be something. That's kind of how it was with Tony. I was he's telling me this. So it's well, everyone else has told me this too, but I ended up joining because I believed in him. But I was this sounds like everything else I've heard before. Then I get in here, I'm like, wow, it's not joking, which I didn't expect that one. It was, it blew my mind. And, so, really just finding someone you can trust is probably the most important thing. I mean, everyone's going to promise the world and underdeliver, and I got extremely lucky with working here because he promised the world and delivered the world, I guess you could say. But yeah, I don't know. Is that better, or would you like some more red flags? I'm just trying to think of things.
Yeah, and it sounds like overall it is definitely a jump that you had to take. It's a risk that could have been promised the world and delivered nothing. Ultimately, is there any signs of, a predator that's just trying to get you to join their brokerage so that they can get a part of your commission, that are blatantly obvious, or ongoing once you have joined, once you have taken that jump, not knowing yet necessarily whether it will pan out or not, that, oh, this is out of sync, that's probably not a good sign, and I don't know if this is going to be a long-term thing, just different things that even just again ongoing after you've taken that jump that might.
I would say honestly, it's probably I couldn't give you a definite red flag, and the reason I say that, so I've been pretty blessed. Ted has been my mentor before I even worked for eXp Realty, which ultimately Tony does work for eXp Realty. Reborn Homes is within eXp Realty, so I've always been kind of in that connection, even though before I worked for Tony. So I was with the Clubhouse, and when I was with the Clubhouse, they're an eXp Realty team. I think they're in the top 3 in the country right now. They're very good, but they have always taken care of me really well. Ted recommended, it's hey, I interviewed a here. They all promised me the world. Which one's actually going to be the best? He's oh no, come work for me. Come work at eXp Realty, the Clubhouse. I did. I met our boss, Jimmy Doolin, who is a fantastic role model and leader. I've got Ted there as well. Ted was great. He taught me a lot. That's who my mentor was. And everyone in the office, though, I remember going in there and like Jimmy was so willing to help me. His wife Tamara, she was great. She was also willing to help me. Any agent, lender, title person in that office wanted to help me the best they could. They're like, if you need anything at all, call me. And that was the experience I had. So I never really, I've heard bad stories about like being, you're paying a high cap and you're not getting leads. But I've fortunately never had that situation because I've been with EXP for almost 3 years now and they've been great. So I really can't give you any red flags, but I can tell you how my experience went with our team and why I think that's a big green flag. I guess that's the best I can do for you on that.
And as you know, we are expanding our team and looking to expand here in Indy and looking to then expand regionally and over time nationwide, both with the home buying side of the company as well as our brokerage. And with that said, in your perspective as an agent, who would be the best fit to join Reborn Homes? How can who can we as a company best serve? Who is that best fit to join our team?
So I'd say we have a young team. We all really work hard and we're all like putting everything we have into this. That's the biggest thing. You've got to be obviously personable and, you want to be into real estate, but ultimately, the biggest thing is this jumps back on faith. I think that would be the biggest like make or break or not. If you're open, obviously, we can help build your faith, but ultimately my faith, like I felt I had pretty strong faith, but my faith grew just through working here just because, I'm like, wow, I'm actually like doing the Lord's work. So that was the cool part about that. I feel like, for the most part, though, if you have a nice head on you, you can sell good, that's great. I think really if you are completely willing and open to learn, I think you can succeed here through our sales training. I don't think real estate sales is that. It's definitely sales, but it's not like used car sales. It's not like high pressure sales because ultimately we're consulting people on what's the best fit for them and then doing that for them. And when you look at that realistically, I'm not sitting here trying to pressure someone to buy a product they don't want. We have every product they might want. We're just trying to figure out what's the best fit for them. And that would be my best answer to that for you.
Yeah. And so earlier I asked, how can an agent find an investor to work with and what things to look for? How can an investor find an agent, and how can an investor best serve that agent to make sure that at least what they are doing is helping that partnership, that relationship to succeed and produce fruit?
I would say you could find your agent it depends like where you're at. If you're in Indy, just call us and we'll take care of you pretty well. But if you're not in Indy, I would say really looking up probably investor focused brokerages, or I would say finding like a top producing agent and meeting with them, setting very clear expectations to know like, hey, this is what we want to do. How can we achieve that? I think communication's like the biggest thing with that because, a lot of people might say, I want to buy an investment property if they're like kind of half in, half out. And it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of investment properties. Be more specific with me. So if there's an investor, you can get really dialed in and consult with your agent. You guys can sit down and figure out what type of investment property would be a best fit for you. That would be the first thing. Then obviously just following up on that, find the agent, meet with them, really break down what your buying criteria is and how the agent can best serve you. And if the communication's there, it should be a great relationship.
Yeah. And as far as, let's say an investor like myself who not necessarily looking to invest in a single specific property, but looking to build a business around investing, what would that process of looking for an agent look like?
I would say you need someone that's just willing to work hard. And that's with anything, but really, this is not a business for laziness. And the reason I say that is because, you're going to be getting, every agent wants to be the $1 million listing guy like Ryan Serhant or whatever it may be. And that's great. And it's like, I'd love to do that too, but you're going to be selling in all price points and you need to just have a servant mindset and be willing to go put in the work, whether it be here or here on the price point, because ultimately they all add up and they all are going to help the investor. If you can find someone like that who's willing to do anything, like when it comes to like the listing services, buyer services, and they're just going to put everything they have out there to really create you the best outcome, that's going to be the most important thing.
Anything within the core values.
Anything within the core values, of course. But
yeah, and just to recap, how can, again, someone listening to this episode thinking about selling their house, or grandma's thinking about selling their house, or cousin, whoever it might be, someone, whether themselves or someone in their life is thinking about selling their house, not sure which way to go, how can they reach out if they do have a property they want to sell, or they want to explore their options?
So if I were you, what I would do is I would reach out to you can plug all the social medias because I don't know what all of them are, but reach out to us on either social media, one of our forums, whatever it may be. I would be more than likely me or Tony that would call you, and we could meet with you on the phone and get your criteria down. Or if you need to list, whatever it may be, we have everything. We'll consult you, figure out what's the best fit for you, and then we can go from there, and we'll lay out your options for you. If working with us is a great fit, awesome. If not, that's completely okay. We just need a definite yes or no answer. But it's really just like, seeing, hey, here's our options. This is what we think is the best fit for you. What are your thoughts? Now you've got your options laid out. You have that choice to make the decision, and we can go from there. And we can show you our testimonials, whatever it may be. But, like I said earlier, when it doesn't, necessarily go that much into sales for us, it's really consulting. We're consulting you what we have to offer, and you're just making that choice.
Right. And just to recap, how can potential clients benefit from working with us?
They can benefit from working with us. I think the biggest thing is because we're honest, we look out for people's best interests. And I know everyone's going to say that, but truly, you can look at our core values. That is what this business is built on. And, that would be the most important thing to me because, hey, I've even had people that I straight up told them, hey, I don't think selling for you is a good option. And, if that's the option, I'll tell them that. And it sucks because I probably could have made a commission off that. But ultimately, that person's a lot happier and they know they got the best outcome for what they were looking for. So really just finding an honest group of people you can work with like us, and you just, having that trust in us to know, hey, they're going to lay out the best possible option because they are experts on the investment and the retail market. And then I can make that decision for myself. That would be the biggest selling point for me. And we're a God-based brokerage, and all our work we do ultimately through the Lord, which is another big thing. I know typically they say don't bring up religion in business or whatever like that. And I understand that, but truthfully, trying to be 1% better every day to try to serve someone in the eyes of the Lord, and kind of just doing your actions on our core values, which were built around that. That's really what I think drives us to, be the best. Yeah.
And to be very clear, we are rooted in faith. We are grounded in faith. That is where our company purpose, our mission comes from. That said, we don't just work with Christians. We don't just hire Christians. We don't just work with vendors who are Christian-based companies. Jesus calls us to serve the lost and to serve, those who are not believers, and to love our love our enemy as ourselves, to love our neighbor as ourselves, and if that includes your enemy, which it does, to love your enemy as yourself. And so we've had a couple different people who are in the market and have done some things that may not best reflect the light of God, and ultimately what we can do is we can love them and not take any vengeance, because that is not our responsibility. The Lord is a judge, and ultimately just that heart posture of love is what keeps us going. But again, if you're not Christian, that's totally okay. We're not gonna tell you we're not gonna buy your house or work with you because of that. We would still love to serve you and work with you and your family. So with that said, as far as reaching out to us, you can either go to our website. It's indyhomesreborn.com. It's INDY homes, HOMES, reborn, REBORN.com. You can go to our company Instagram, which is the same handle, Indy Homes Reborn. Our company Facebook, Indy Homes Reborn. Or you can actually text me or Gabe. It'll go directly to our cell phone at 317-820-2305. So if you or a loved one or maybe even one of your enemies is thinking about selling, you tell them, reach out. We'll have a quick conversation with them. If we're a great fit, great. If not, that's totally okay too. And if we are a great fit and we end up working with them, we'll pay you $2,500 for that referral. So with that said, Gabriel, I appreciate your time today.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it as well.
Absolutely.